A 17-year-old girl just pulled a pregnant stranger
okay?
out of a burning car with her
so.
bare hands. Her arms were sliced open, smoke was choking her lungs, and the road beneath her feet? The exact same road where her own parents were killed 9 years ago. She thought it was a random accident, a stranger in trouble, nothing more. She had no idea who that woman really was. She had no idea what that woman's husband had done, or how his past was connected to the worst night of her life. And when he offered her anything in the world, she asked for something that made a powerful man weep in front of everyone he knew. Her name is Willow Brooks. She was 17. She had nothing. But what happened on that road exposed a 9-year-old secret and proved that the most dangerous thing in the world is a kind heart with nothing to lose. 5:05 in the morning. That's when Willow Brooks opened her eyes every single day. Not because she wanted to, because she had to. Her alarm was a cracked phone plugged into a frayed charger that only worked at one angle. She slept in a small room in her grandmother's house. A twin mattress pushed against the wall, a desk made from a door laid across cinder blocks, and nursing textbooks stacked by subject. On the wall above her bed hung a corkboard. Pinned to it, 11 scholarship rejection letters and 3 that still said pending. She'd ranked them, most recent on top. Every morning before her feet hit the floor, she touched the 3 pending ones, lightly, like a prayer she was afraid to say out loud. On the nightstand, a framed photo of her parents, James and Lorraine Brooks, her father's arm around her mother. Both of them were smiling. Willow was 8 years old when they died. A car accident on Highway 49. She wasn't in the car. She was at Grandma Estelle's house eating peach cobbler and watching cartoons. She remembers the phone ringing. She remembers Grandma Estelle picking it up. She remembers the glass of sweet tea slipping out of Estelle's hand and shattering on the kitchen floor. And for years afterward, Willow thought that's what bad news sounds like. Breaking glass. That was 9 years ago. Willow was 17 now, and she'd been old since she was 8. Every morning, same routine. She got up, washed her face, and went to the kitchen to make Grandma Estelle's breakfast. Estelle was 78, wheelchair-bound, diabetic, sharp as a blade, but her body was failing her. Willow checked the insulin pump first. It had been glitching for a week, freezing up, showing error codes. The replacement part cost $180. Willow had saved $62. She taped the back panel shut with medical tape, pressed it firm, held her breath until the screen blinked back on. Estelle watched her from across the kitchen table. "You're too young to be old, baby." Willow smiled. "Somebody's gotta be." That was their rhythm. Estelle worried, Will deflected. And neither of them said what they both knew, that this house, this life, this whole thing, it was held together by a 17-year-old girl with tape on her shoes and no backup plan. After breakfast, Willow drove to school, Jefferson County High. She wasn't popular. She wasn't unpopular. She was invisible, the way overworked kids are. She didn't cause trouble, didn't raise her hand, sat in the back row, turned in A- work, and left before the bell stopped ringing because she had somewhere to be. Her biology teacher, Mrs. Underwood, had written her 3 recommendation letters. 3. For scholarships Willow hadn't won yet. Mrs. Underwood once pulled her aside after class and said, "You have the hands of a surgeon and the heart of a saint. Don't let anyone waste either one." Willow nodded, said thank you, and went to work. After school, every day, Willow drove to Cora's kitchen. If you've never been to Cora's kitchen, let me paint it for you. 6 booths, checkered curtains, a jukebox in the corner that only played gospel and Motown. The kind of place where the food is too cheap and the portions are too big and everybody knows your name. Cora Davis owned it, 73 years old, Estelle's best friend since childhood. Loud, loving, the kind of woman who called you baby and meant it like a weapon. Behind the register, on the wall, there was a framed newspaper clipping, yellowed, under glass. The headline read, "Couple killed in Highway 49 crash. 8-year-old daughter survives." Beneath the headline, in Cora's handwriting, "James and Lorraine, forever loved." Willow walked past that clipping every single shift. She didn't look at it anymore. She didn't have to. It lived inside her. She worked the evening shift, took orders, wiped tables, refilled coffee, joked with the regulars. An elderly man named Mr. Garrett always sat in booth 3. He tipped her $3 every time and said, "You remind me of my granddaughter." A truck driver named Dale Perkins came in every Tuesday for the meatloaf special. Willow knew their orders by heart. She didn't write anything down. That night, she made $28 in tips. She put 20 in an envelope she kept in her apron pocket. The envelope had 2 words written on it in a ballpoint pen. Grandma's pump. She kept 8 for gas. End of shift. Willow sat in booth 6 after the last customer left. She pulled out the envelope, counted it. $82 out of 180. She looked up at the newspaper clipping on the wall. Then she grabbed her keys and drove home on Highway 49. She passed a certain bend in the road, the one with old skid marks and a replacement guardrail that's a slightly different shade of silver than the rest. She drove past that spot every single day. She never looked, but tonight, just for a second, she glanced, and then she drove on. But what Willow didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that this particular Tuesday was the last ordinary day of her life. Because that bend in the road, the one she never looks at, it sits exactly 1.4 miles from where a white Range Rover was about to lose control. And what was about to happen there would tie every broken thread of Willow's life into a knot so tight it would take a billionaire's confession to unravel it. Highway 49, 7:38 in the evening. The sun was low and red, but the heat hadn't broken. 94 degrees. The asphalt shimmered like water that wasn't there. Willow drove with the windows down because the AC had died 2 summers ago and she couldn't afford to fix it. Gospel radio. Volume is low. She was thinking about the insulin pump. $98 to go. Maybe she could pick up a Saturday shift. Maybe Cora would let her work the breakfast rush. She rounded the long curve past Miller's Creek Bridge, and then she saw it. A white Range Rover, nose down in the ditch on the right shoulder. The front end crumpled against a thick pine tree. The hood was buckled upward like a broken jaw. Steam was rising from the engine. And then, a thin black curl of smoke from underneath the car. Small at first, growing. Willow's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Her heart rate spiked. She knew this road. She knew what a wrecked car on this road meant. She'd lived with what a wrecked car on this road meant for 9 years. And for one fraction of a second, just a flash, she wasn't 17 anymore. She was 8, standing in Grandma Estelle's kitchen, hearing breaking glass. She blinked. She was back. She pulled onto the shoulder. Gravel crunched under her tires. She grabbed her phone, dialed 911. Nothing. No signal. Not one bar. This stretch of Highway 49 was a dead zone. 3 miles in every direction. No cell towers. No houses. No gas stations. Just pine trees, red clay, and the sound of cicadas screaming into the heat. She looked up and down the road. Empty. Both directions. Not a single car. She was alone. She got out. The smoke was thickening now, not just steam anymore, something darker, something chemical. And then she heard it. A sound, muffled, coming from inside the SUV. A woman's voice. "Help! Please! Somebody help me! My baby!" Willow ran. She reached the Range Rover in seconds. The driver's side door was crushed inward, metal folded like paper against the tree. The windshield was spiderwebbed, caved in on the left side. She moved to the passenger side. Through the shattered window, she saw her. A woman, white, mid-30s, visibly pregnant, 8 months at least. There was a gash above her right eye, blood running down her temple. The seatbelt was locked tight across her chest and belly. The airbag had deployed and deflated, pinning her awkwardly against the seat. Her hands were pushing against the dashboard. She couldn't move. The woman looked up. Her eyes found Willow's. "My baby," she gasped. "Please, I can't get out. My baby." Willow grabbed the passenger door handle, pulled. It didn't move. She braced her foot against the frame and pulled harder. Nothing. The frame was bent. The door was sealed shut. She looked at the smoke. It was coming faster now, darker, thicker. She could smell it, not just oil and rubber, gasoline, sharp and unmistakable. And underneath the car, something was hissing. A pressurized line. Fuel. Something is about to get much worse very fast. Willow's mind went into calculation mode. She was 5'3", 118 pounds, 17 years old. She had no tools, no phone signal, no help coming, and the car in front of her was filling with smoke while a pregnant woman screamed inside it. Every instinct said run. Every instinct except one, because somewhere in the back of her mind, in the place where Grandma Estelle's voice lived permanently, she heard a sentence she'd carried for 3 years. Your mama and daddy might still be here if someone had the right tool at the right time. Estelle had said that the day she made Willow buy the seatbelt cutter, a $6 tool from a gas station, bright yellow plastic. Willow had tossed it into the first aid kit under her passenger seat and never thought about it again, until right now. That sentence, the one about her parents, the one about the right tool, it had lived in Willow's chest like a splinter for 3 years. Quiet, buried, aching when she breathed too deep. But right now, standing on the shoulder of Highway 49, staring at a burning car with a pregnant woman inside, that splinter didn't ache anymore. It became something else. It became a reason. What happened next took less than 4 minutes, but those 4 minutes would connect two families in a way neither of them could have possibly imagined. Because the road that killed Willow's parents was about to give her the chance to save someone else's family. And the woman trapped inside that car, her life was tangled with Willow's in a way that would take a tearful confession to reveal. But Willow didn't know any of that yet. All she knew was, there's a woman in that car. She's pregnant. The car is on fire, and I have the right tool. Willow sprinted back to her Civic. She popped the trunk. The bungee cord snapped loose. She reached inside and grabbed the first aid kit, a cheap nylon pouch with a faded red cross on the front. She unzipped it with shaking fingers. Inside, gauze, medical tape, a packet of antiseptic wipes, and at the very bottom, tucked under everything else, the seatbelt cutter. $6, bright yellow plastic, a blade on one end, a glass breaker point on the other. She bought it at a gas station 3 years ago because Grandma Estelle wouldn't let her leave without it. She had never used it, not once. Her hands were trembling. She squeezed the tool until her knuckles ached and the shaking stopped. Then she ran, back to the Range Rover. The smoke was inside the cabin now. She could see it swirling through the windows, gray turning to black, filling the space like floodwater rising in slow motion. Catherine was coughing violently. Her eyes were streaming. She was clawing at the seatbelt with both hands, but the mechanism had locked on impact. It wouldn't release. "Hey!" Willow shouted through the broken passenger window. "Hey! Look at me!" Catherine's eyes found hers, wide, red, terrified. "What's your name?" "Catherine." "Catherine, I'm Willow. I'm getting you out of this car right now. Cover your face. I'm about to break this window." Catherine lifted her arms over her face. Her hands were shaking as badly as Willow's had been 10 seconds ago. Willow flipped the cutter around, pressed the glass breaker point against what remained of the passenger window. One strike. A web of cracks exploded across the surface. 2 strikes. The tempered glass collapsed inward, 1,000 tiny crystals scattering across the seat like broken ice. She swept the edges of the frame with her forearm, fast, desperate, clearing the jagged pieces so she could lean in without Catherine getting cut on the way out. The glass bit into her skin, one slice on her left forearm, another on her right, deep enough to bleed immediately. She didn't look down. She didn't register the pain. There wasn't room for pain right now. There was only the smoke and the heat and the pregnant woman inside. She leaned through the window. The heat was staggering, like putting her face inside an oven. The dashboard was warping, the plastic softening and bending from the fire burning underneath. She could hear the hissing louder now, pressurized, angry. Something below the car was about to give. She had minutes, maybe less, maybe much less. She reached for the seatbelt. The buckle mechanism was crushed. The impact had jammed it shut. She pressed the release button. Nothing. Pressed it again with her thumb as hard as she could. Nothing. Dead. She flipped the cutter to the blade side and started sawing at the strap. Industrial-grade nylon. Thick. Woven tight. The little $6 blade caught the first few threads, but it was slow. Agonizingly slow. Her hands were slick with sweat and blood. The yellow plastic kept slipping in her grip. She wiped her right hand on her jeans and grabbed again, back and forth, thread by thread. "Come on," she muttered through clenched teeth. "Come on, come on, come on!" Catherine reached out and grabbed Willow's hand. Not to stop her, not to rush her, just to hold on, just to say, "I'm here, I trust you." And in that grip, Willow felt something. The ring, cold against her hot skin, heavy, heavier than any ring she'd ever touched. Platinum. She could feel a raised pattern under her fingertips, a crest of some kind engraved into the metal. She didn't know what it was. She didn't look. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a quiet thought passed through. That ring costs more than my car. She pushed the thought away, kept cutting. 3 more strokes. 4. 5. The blade was halfway through the strap now. The smoke was getting worse. She could barely see Catherine's face. Her own lungs were burning. Her eyes were watering so badly that she was cutting by feel alone. 6. 7. The belt snapped. Catherine gasped, a raw, desperate sound as the pressure released from her chest and belly all at once. She slumped forward against the deflated airbag. Free. Willow tossed the cutter aside. She reached through the window, hooked both arms under Catherine's armpits, and planted her feet against the base of the door frame. "I need you to push with your legs. Anything you've got. Push!" Catherine nodded, jaw clenched, eyes squeezed shut. Together, Willow pulled. Catherine pushed. The window frame scraped against Catherine's back as she came through. Willow shifted one arm, cradling the belly as Catherine's torso cleared the opening. She did it instinctively, without thinking, like something inside her already knew how to protect what was precious. She'd never held a baby. She'd never even been close to a pregnant woman. But in that moment, her body knew what to do before her brain did. Catherine's hips came through, then her legs, then her feet. Willow took the full weight, 118 pounds pulling 140 through a car window. Her knees buckled. She staggered backward. They fell together onto the red clay shoulder, hard, and Willow did not let go. She rolled, dragging Catherine with her, away from the car. 5 feet, 10, 15, 20. She was still moving when the engine compartment erupted. A wall of orange flame swallowed the front cabin. The windshield blew inward. The interior became a furnace in 2 seconds flat, black smoke vomiting from every opening. Then the front tires blew. One, then the other. 2 gunshot cracks that echoed off the pine trees and sent birds scattering into the sky. Willow threw herself over Catherine, shielded her body, shielded the belly. They lay there, 30 feet from the inferno, heat pressing against their backs like a hand trying to push them into the ground. The sound of metal groaning and glass popping and something deep inside the engine giving its final mechanical scream. 1 minute. If they had been 1 minute slower, 60 seconds, both of them would be dead. Willow lifted her head. Catherine was on her side, both hands pressed against her belly, sobbing. Not from pain, from the sheer, crushing weight of what almost happened. "Can you feel the baby?" Willow's voice was raw, smoke in her throat. "Is she moving?" Catherine nodded. Her whole body shook with the nod. "She's kicking," she choked out. "She's kicking!" Willow exhaled, a long, trembling breath that seemed to empty everything inside her. She sat back on her heels, blood dripping from both forearms onto the red clay, sweat and soot and tears mixing on her face. A 17-year-old girl and a stranger on the shoulder of Highway 49, alive. They cried together, not talking, not moving, just breathing and crying and listening to each other be alive. Willow glanced back at the wreck. Through the smoke, she could see the rear end of the Range Rover, the only part the fire hadn't swallowed yet. The license plate frame, brushed silver, 2 letters etched into the metal, a D.
She didn't know what it meant.
Didn't think about it. And there was one more thing she noticed without understanding. Catherine. Even through all of it, the smoke, the blood, the fire, the terror, she never completely lost control. Yes, she was scared, but underneath the fear there was something else. A structure, a rhythm. She gave clear answers when Willow asked her name. She followed instructions. She pushed when told to push. She breathed in a pattern even while sobbing. She moved like someone who had handled pressure before. Not this kind, but the kind that comes with boardrooms and cameras and rooms full of people watching your every word. Catherine was not an ordinary woman on an ordinary drive, and this was not a random accident on a random road. But Willow didn't know any of that yet. 10 minutes later, a logging truck came around the bend. The driver, a man named Dale Perkins, same guy who ordered meatloaf at Cora's every Tuesday, saw the fire from a quarter-mile away. He pulled over, grabbed his phone, and dialed 911. Within 15 minutes, Highway 49 was lit up with flashing lights. A fire truck, an ambulance, a sheriff's cruiser. Deputy Earl Simmons stepped out, took one look at the burning Range Rover, and then turned to the 2 figures sitting in the red clay on the shoulder. A woman on a stretcher, pregnant, bleeding from a cut above her eye, conscious, talking. The EMTs hooked up a fetal monitor, baby's heartbeat, strong and steady. And next to her, a teenage girl, sitting on the ground with her arms wrapped around her knees, blood drying on both forearms, soot on her face. Her shirt torn at the sleeves where the glass had cut through. The EMTs turned to Willow. "We need to look at those arms. You should come with us." Willow shook her head. "I'm fine. Take care of her and the baby, please." One of the EMTs, a woman about Estelle's age, crouched beside her and said softly, "Sweetheart, you've got lacerations that need stitches." "I'll be fine. She needs you more." Deputy Simmons walked over. He looked down at this kid, this teenage girl in a diner apron with blood on her hands and smoke in her hair. He'd been on the force for 22 years. He'd seen a lot of things on Highway 49. He'd never seen anything like this. "You know you just saved 2 lives tonight," he said. "You understand that, right?" Willow looked up at him. She didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. A small nod, the kind that says, "I heard you, but I can't think about that right now." Before the ambulance doors closed, Catherine reached out. She grabbed Willow's hand, the same hand that had sawed through the seatbelt, the same hand that had cradled her belly through the window. She held it tight. "What's your name?" "Willow. Willow Brooks." Catherine squeezed. Her eyes were full. "Willow, I owe you everything. I owe you my daughter's life." Willow smiled. That tired, warm, soft smile, the kind that makes you want to wrap a blanket around the person wearing it and tell them everything's going to be okay. "You don't owe me anything, ma'am. Just take care of that baby." Catherine's lip trembled. She looked down, reaching instinctively for something to give. A wallet, a card, a phone number. But she had nothing. Everything she owned had burned in the car. Her bag, her phone, her ID, gone. All she had was the ring on her finger. She started to pull it off, that heavy platinum band with the crest Willow had felt in the dark. Willow gently placed her hand over Catherine's, stopped her. "No, ma'am, you keep that. Your husband's going to want to see that ring on your finger tonight." Catherine broke, a sob that came from somewhere so deep it shook the stretcher. The EMT touched Willow's shoulder. "We have to go." And the ambulance doors closed. Will stood there in the flashing red and blue lights, watching the ambulance pull away, watching the fire crew spray down the wreck, watching the smoke thin against the darkening sky. Then she walked back to her Civic, got in, sat there for a long time. She drove home, parked behind Cora's kitchen, walked up the back stairs to Grandma Estelle's house, went to her room, closed the door. She opened the first aid kit, It was lighter now. The seatbelt cutter was gone. She'd left it on the ground next to the Range Rover. She pulled out the gauze and tape and bandaged her own arms. Slowly, methodically, the way she'd seen the nurses do it at Sunrise Elder Home. When she finished, she sat on the edge of her bed. The twin mattress, the cinder block desk, the scholarship rejection letters on the corkboard, and the photo on the nightstand. James and Lorraine Brooks, smiling. Willow stared at that photo for a long time, and then she cried. Not because she was hurt, not because she was scared, but because Highway 49 took her parents 9 years ago, and tonight, on the same road, she refused to let it take someone else's family. She didn't tell Grandma Estelle what happened. She didn't tell Cora. She didn't tell anyone. She turned off the light, pulled the blanket up, and went to sleep. The next day, Willow went back to her life. Same routine. Alarm at 5:05. Breakfast for Grandma Estelle. School. Diner. Like nothing happened. That evening at Cora's kitchen, the TV above the counter played the local news. Willow was pouring coffee when the anchor's voice cut through. A pregnant woman was rescued from a burning vehicle on Highway 49 late Tuesday evening. Authorities are seeking the Good Samaritan who pulled her to safety. The screen showed the charred skeleton of a white Range Rover in a ditch. The same pine tree, the same red clay. Cora looked up from the register. Lord have mercy, another crash on that cursed road. Willow stood still. Coffee pot in hand, eyes locked on the screen. Cora glanced at her. You okay, baby? Willow blinked, poured the coffee. I'm fine. She didn't say another word about it, but someone else was already looking. 2 days later, a black Escalade with tinted windows drove slowly past Cora's kitchen. It stopped at the gas station down the road. A woman stepped out, mid-40s, tailored blazer, low heels. She showed a photo to the clerk behind the counter. The clerk shrugged. The Escalade pulled away. If you looked closely at the rear window as it turned onto Highway 49, you'd see a small decal in the corner. 2 letters, brushed silver. A D. The next day, the same Escalade parked outside Jefferson County High School at 3:15, right when the final bell rang. The woman in the blazer watched students pour through the doors, scanning faces. She didn't find who she was looking for. Willow had left early. Dentist appointment. 3 miles away, sitting in a waiting room, while a woman in a $100,000 car searched for her in a crowd of teenagers. The Escalade pulled away, slowly. The person looking for Willow wasn't the police, wasn't a reporter. It was someone sent by a man named Graham Ashford, who had been in New York when his phone rang Tuesday night, who had chartered a jet and run through hospital corridors at 2 in the morning, whose wife was safe, whose unborn daughter was safe, because of a girl named Willow Brooks. Graham spent 72 hours mobilizing everything he had to find her. He pulled hospital footage. He read the deputy's report. He had a name and a road. Willow Brooks, Highway 49. And when Graham Ashford saw that name and that road, something inside him went cold, because he recognized it. Not from the rescue, from something he had buried 9 years ago, something that was about to claw its way back to the surface. Saturday evening, Will finished her shift at Cora's kitchen, untied her apron, said goodnight to Cora, walked out the back door into the gravel lot. The black Escalade was there, parked next to her Civic, engine off, waiting. The driver's door opened. The woman in the blazer stepped out and walked toward her. Miss Brooks? Willow stopped. Who's asking? My name is Hannah Caldwell. I work for a company called Ashford Dynamics. The woman you pulled from the car on Tuesday, her name is Catherine Ashford. She's the wife of our CEO, Graham Ashford. Willow blinked. She'd never heard that name. She and the baby are both healthy, both safe, because of you. Mrs. Ashford would very much like to see you, and Mr. Ashford would like to thank you personally. Willow's first question. The baby's okay? She's really okay? Hannah smiled. Perfect. Strong heartbeat. No complications. Willow looked down at herself. Diner uniform. Taped sneakers. dirty bandages on both forearms. "I don't need anything from them. Miss Brooks, please, it would mean the world to them." Willow stood in the gravel lot, cicadas screaming in the trees, yellow light spilling from Cora's screen door. She thought about saying no, going home, checking the insulin pump, going to bed. But she thought about Catherine's face in the ambulance, the way she'd grabbed Willow's hand and said, "I owe you my daughter's life." "Okay," Willow said. "Okay." She got in the back of the Escalade. The leather was softer than her mattress. The car smelled clean in a way she couldn't name, not air freshener, just expensive. She'd never been inside a car that smelled like money. She watched through the tinted windows as the world changed. Small wooden houses became brick. Brick became gated neighborhoods. Gated neighborhoods became estates. Driveways vanishing behind magnolia trees, rooftops barely visible above the walls. Lawns wider than parking lots. Cars in driveways are worth more than Willow's house. She'd never been to this part of Raleigh. The Escalade turned. Wrought iron gates opened automatically. A quarter-mile driveway lined with magnolias. And at the end, a Georgian mansion. White columns. More windows than she could count. "This is their house?" Hannah glanced in the mirror. "Yes, ma'am." Inside, Willow was led through a marble foyer, her taped sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, into a living room flooded with late-afternoon sun, bigger than Cora's entire diner, high ceilings, fresh flowers on a table that probably cost more than everything Willow owned. Catherine was there, seated on a pale sofa, one hand on her belly. The gash above her eye was stitched and healing. She wore a white blouse. She looked like a different person from the woman screaming in a burning car 4 days ago. But when she saw Willow, everything polished fell away in 1 second. Catherine stood, crossed the room, and wrapped Willow in a hug so tight, Willow could feel the baby kick between them. They held each other. No words. 30 seconds of breathing and crying in a sunlit room. Catherine pulled back, held Willow's face in both hands. "There you are," she whispered. "There you are." Then, footsteps. From the hallway. A man entered. Tall, dark hair graying at the temples, sharp jaw, white dress shirt, sleeves rolled, no tie. His eyes were red, not from just now, from days. Graham Ashford. He walked toward Willow slowly. His face held something layered, gratitude on the surface, but underneath, something heavier, something Willow couldn't name. He extended his hand. Willow shook it. His grip was firm. His fingers trembled. "Miss Brooks." His voice cracked. He steadied himself. "I'm Graham. That's my wife. That's my daughter." He gestured at Catherine's belly. "The doctors told me 60 more seconds and I would have lost them both. You gave me my family." Willow looked at the floor. "I just couldn't leave her there, sir." "I know." His voice was tight. "I know you couldn't." He was still holding her hand, and his eyes were doing something strange, scanning her face like he was searching for something. Not the right words. Something deeper. Something like recognition. His voice dropped. "I need to ask you something." A pause. "Brooks. Willow Brooks." He said it slowly, like tasting something familiar. "Your parents, were they James and Lorraine Brooks?" The room stopped. Willow's smile vanished. Her hand went rigid in his grip. The warmth left her face. "How do you know my parents' names?" Graham didn't answer. His jaw tightened. His eyes filled. And Willow saw it, just a flash behind the gratitude, something that looked nothing like thankfulness. It looked like guilt. And right there, in that living room worth more than Willow's entire neighborhood, the ground opened up. Because what Graham Ashford was about to say would connect every broken piece of this girl's life to the man standing in front of her. And nothing would ever be the same. Graham turned to Catherine. "I need to speak with Miss Brooks alone." Catherine looked at him. She knew her husband. She knew his boardroom face and his press conference face and his dinner with investors face. This was none of those. This was a face she had never seen before. Terror. She hesitated. Then she nodded. She touched Willow's arm gently as she passed. Hannah followed. The door closed. Graham and Willow, alone in the living room. He sat down across from her. His hands were on his knees. They were shaking. He pressed them flat to stop it. It didn't work. He spoke slowly, like every word cost him something. 9 years ago, my company was developing autonomous vehicle technology. Early stage, experimental. We were running field tests on rural roads in North Carolina, roads with low traffic, minimal oversight. He paused, swallowed. Highway 49. Willow's breath stopped. On September 14, 2016, one of our test prototypes experienced a sensor malfunction at 58 miles per hour. It crossed the center line. His voice was barely above a whisper now. The official accident report said the other vehicle, a 2003 Nissan Altima, experienced mechanical failure. He closed his eyes. That report was written by our legal team. The malfunction was ours. The fault was ours. The couple in that Altima. He couldn't finish. Willow finished for him. Her voice came out flat, distant, like she was hearing herself speak from the bottom of a well. James and Lorraine Brooks. Graham opened his eyes. Tears were already falling. Your parents. His voice broke in half. I killed your parents, Willow. Silence. 10 seconds that stretched like 10 years. Willow stared at him. Her jaw tightened. Her hands gripped the edge of the sofa cushion. Her eyes filled. Not with tears yet. With something bigger than tears. Something seismic. 9 years. 9 years of waking up without parents. 9 years of Grandma Estelle raising her alone in a wheelchair. 9 years of scholarship rejections and taped sneakers and insulin pump envelopes and counting tip money in a diner booth. 9 years of driving past that guardrail on Highway 49 and never looking. And a $6 seatbelt cutter, bought because Grandma Estelle said, your mama and daddy might still be here if someone had the right tool at the right time. That tool, that sentence, that grief, all of it, every single thread, traced back to the man sitting across from her. Graham was crying openly now, no attempt to hide it. I have carried this every single day. I shut down the autonomous division for 2 years. I donated to road safety programs. I tried to find your family, sent money through anonymous channels. His shoulders were shaking. But I never had the courage to face you. And then you saved my wife. You saved my daughter. On the same road. With a tool you owned because of what I did to your family. Willow stood up. She walked to the window, looked out at the manicured lawn, the magnolia trees, the fountain, the world this man had built, partly on the buried truth of her parents' deaths. This is the moment every viewer expects rage. This is where she screams, where she walks out, where she calls a lawyer and takes everything. She turned around. Her face was wet, but her voice was steady. 17 years old. Steady. My grandmother has a saying. She says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. She paused. I've been angry my whole life, Mr. Ashford. At the road, at the world, at God, but never at a person, because I didn't know there was a person. Another pause. Now I know, and I don't want to drink that poison. Graham stared at her, mouth open. No words. Willow took a breath. You asked what I want. Here's what I want. She looked him in the eye. 17, bandaged arms, diner uniform, looking a billionaire in the eye. I want you to go back to autonomous vehicles. Don't run from it. Make the technology right this time. Make it so safe that no 8-year-old girl ever gets a phone call like the one my grandma got. She paused. I want you to fund nurses and EMTs and first responders. The people who show up when the technology fails. Because somebody should have been there for my parents that night. Nobody was. A trucker found the wreck 40 minutes later. She paused again, steadied herself. And I want a scholarship fund. Not for me. For girls like me. Black girls. Poor girls. Any girl who wants to be the person who shows up when nobody else will. Name it after my grandmother. She's the one who raised me to run toward the fire instead of away from it. Graham put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. This was not the crying of gratitude. This was the crying of a man receiving grace he did not earn from the last person on earth who owed it to him. The orphan his company created had just offered him something no amount of money could buy: forgiveness. When he lifted his head, his eyes were raw but clear. All of it, every word, the scholarship, the Estelle Brooks First Responder Scholarship, the Safety Division, I'll restart it and name it after your parents, the James and Lorraine Brooks Center for Autonomous Safety. He looked at her. And you, Willow, you're the first recipient, full ride, any nursing program in the country. And when you graduate, there's a seat on our safety advisory board. Because the person making those decisions should be someone who knows what it costs when we get it wrong. Willow broke. She covered her mouth with both hands, turned away because she didn't want him to see her cry. But he'd already seen. The living room door opened. Catherine, who had been listening from the hallway, tears streaming silently, walked in. She wrapped her arms around Willow from behind. 3 people in a mansion built on a secret, and the teenager was the strongest one in the room. Willow whispered, "Can I call my grandma?" Graham handed her his phone. His hand was trembling. "Call anyone you want, for the rest of your life." But Willow's story didn't end in that living room. Within 2 weeks, the Ashford Foundation filed the paperwork. The Estelle Brooks First Responder Scholarship, $3 million. Open to young women from low-income communities pursuing nursing, EMT certification, or emergency medical training. Applications came from Charlotte first, then Raleigh, then across state lines. Within 90 days, over 2,000 applications from across the Southeast. Then Graham did something nobody expected. He held a press conference, cameras from every major outlet, and he told the truth, all of it. He admitted his company's prototype caused the 2016 crash on Highway 49. He named the victims, James and Lorraine Brooks. He named their daughter. He said the official report had been manipulated by his legal team. He took full responsibility. He announced the James and Lorraine Brooks Center for Autonomous Vehicle Safety, a new division dedicated to making the technology that killed Willow's parents safe enough to never kill again. The stock dropped 4% in 1 hour. It recovered within a week, because the public didn't turn on him. They turned toward him. The story went everywhere, every platform, every comment section. The headline wrote itself. Billionaire confesses after orphan he created saves his family. Willow didn't do interviews, didn't go on talk shows. She went to school. UNC Charlotte, nursing program, full tuition, books, housing. Her first day on campus, she wore new sneakers. No tape. She sat in the front row of her anatomy lecture, took notes in the same notebook she used to calculate tip money. The margin still had old numbers. $28, $22, $31. She didn't erase them. After her first exam, she called Grandma Estelle, voice cracking. "Grandma, I got an A." 3 seconds of silence, then, "I knew it. I always knew it." Cora's kitchen got a new life. Graham funded a full renovation. New roof, commercial kitchen, 12 booths instead of 6, a community room in the back. Cora stood in the middle of the new dining room on reopening day, hands on her hips. "Willow Brooks, you are something else." The diner became a community hub, tutoring on Wednesdays, job fairs monthly, free meals for seniors on Sundays. The jukebox still played gospel and Motown. The newspaper clipping stayed on the wall, but next to it now, a new frame. A photo of Willow holding a newborn baby, Catherine beside her, both smiling. Grandma Estelle got a new insulin pump, a home health aide 3 days a week. The house paid off. No more envelopes. No more tape on the back panel. A reporter came by one afternoon. Estelle sat on her porch, tablet in her lap with the news coverage playing. The reporter asked what she thought about everything. Estelle looked into the camera. "I told that girl, be ready. Be somebody's angel." She nodded. She was ready. She was always ready. The first scholarship class, 15 young women, predominantly black, low-income communities across North Carolina, full tuition for nursing or EMT programs. Willow stood in front of them at orientation. She looked at their faces, nervous, hopeful, some trying not to cry. Nobody told me I could do this. Nobody except my grandmother, a woman named Cora, and a biology teacher who wrote me 3 letters for scholarships I didn't win. She paused. I'm telling you now, you can, and you will. And Graham. At the next Ashford Dynamics board meeting, he told the full story. The crash, the cover-up, the rescue, the confession. The moment a 17-year-old girl asked for forgiveness instead of vengeance. He stopped, took off his glasses, and cried. The board voted unanimously. The Estelle Brooks Scholarship, permanent, funded in perpetuity. Not one vote against. 1 year later, Catherine's daughter was born 3 weeks after the confession, healthy, 8 pounds, 2 ounces. They named her Willow Grace Ashford. On her first birthday, the Ashfords invited Willow to the estate. Same living room, same sunlight, but lighter now. The guilt and tears that filled this room a year ago had been replaced by something that felt like beginning. Willow held baby Willow Grace. The baby grabbed her finger, the same finger that sawed through a seatbelt on Highway 49, and squeezed. Catherine watched from the sofa. Graham stood by the window. He looked different. Not free of guilt, that would never fully leave, but he wasn't hiding anymore. He was building. Cora was there, new dress, loud as ever, telling everyone about the time Willow burned cornbread at the diner. Smoke everywhere! Girl, you can save a woman from a burning car, but you can't save cornbread? The room laughed. Grandma Estelle was there. Willow had wheeled her in herself. Sunday best. New insulin pump clipped to her waistband, working perfectly. Estelle held baby Willow Grace. Looked down at that tiny face. Whispered so quietly only the baby could hear, "You be ready, little one. Be somebody's angel." Later, Willow walked to her car. Not the old Civic, a new one. Graham insisted. Willow resisted 3 months. Graham won. She opened the glove compartment. Inside, a new first aid kit, professional grade. Clipped to the front, a real seatbelt cutter. Metal, heavy, not a $6 gas station tool. Taped to it, a handwritten note, her own writing. For Mama and Daddy, I was ready. She started the engine, pulled onto the road. Highway 49, pine trees, red clay, cicadas. The road she'd driven 1,000 times. She approached the bend, the one with the replacement guardrail, the one she never looked at. But something was different now. Beside the guardrail, a memorial stone. Gray granite, placed by the Ashford Foundation. James and Lorraine Brooks, your daughter was the angel on this road. Willow slowed, read it, and for the first time in 9 years, she didn't look away. She drove on, past the spot where the Range Rover had burned. Someone had placed a small wooden sign in the grass, hand-painted, "This is where an angel stopped." The camera rose, wide aerial, a car on a 2-lane road through pine trees at sunset. The road ahead, long and open. A girl who lost everything found a way to give everything, and got it all back.